Hello, Paul here again from EMD Automotive at Canberra, Sydney. I've got this Porsche 987 Mark II we're working on. You can tell by looking at the actual tail lights. Tail light looks like that. Mark 1. Mark 1 looks very similar to the actual 986. Mark 1 have the reverse light here. Mark 2 is a bit different. Anyway, let's have a look at the car. Now we just strip, before we start the work, we have to strip everything down for a full inspection. Let's start with the actual intake manifold. If you look inside here, especially about there, down here, see the oil cooler. There's your oil cooler there. The reason why it's covered in oil because the actual oil vapor separator has starting to fail, then causing the actual oil to go inside the actual intake manifold. And what happened is the rubber inside the middle part of the intake manifold, it's got two rubber sleeves, that one there and that one there. So the rubber sleeves start to actually expand and they start to leak out. That's why you have that oil. Let me zoom in. That's why you have that oil there. Alright. Let's go back to the front. Watch out. Alright, let's have a look at this one here. Alright, see the oil leak there? That's coming from the actual intake manifold leaking down to the bottom of the car. Alright, the drive bell looks really old. We're going to replace the drive bell as well. We're going to take the drive bell off later and then check the alternator pulley, make sure the pulley is good. And we're going to check the water pump underneath there. Water pump pulley underneath there, that one there. And then check that pulley as well. It's part of this major service. I'm not sure if they do it, but we do it down here at EMD. We have pressurized the actual cooling system to look for a coolant leak from the coolant bottle there. There's a coolant bottle there. Sometimes they split in the middle there. It's like this one here. Little mark there, they're starting to split on this one here. It's a common problem. It's pretty common on a 987. Mark 1 and Mark 2, they have a coolant leak from the bottle. Alright. Okay, now we're gonna have a look at the brakes. Okay, let's have a look at the bump stops. See the bump stop there is broken. That side is broken. Same on the other side as well. Both front bump stops are broken, the rubber. And the brakes are pretty, front disc are pretty low. Front disc is pretty low as well, so needs to be replaced. And the rear disc, pretty much front disc front pads, rear disc rear pads. Alright, for this car here, the tires are pretty good. We checked the battery. Battery passed the test. AGM battery on this car here. That's pretty good. The battery is pretty good. The actual alternator is good. The was charging at the alternator was running at about 14.4 volts unloaded and 14.2 volts loaded. Alright. Crank test was pretty good. 10.6 volts. The front and rear tires are pretty good as well. But the front brake pads and rear brake pads are starting to get lower. They're touching, the rear one's touching the actual disc, but the front one is on 26 mil and the rear one is 18 mil. So the specs are front is minimum 26 and the rear disc is 18. So needs a front disc, rear disc, front pads, rear pads as well on this car here. Alright, now we're going to take the car up in the air. We're going to take the car up in the air and we're going to double check the bottom part of the car because we have removed all the under trays off. There you go, to check it properly. Alright, this is the other side. It's broken as well. The bump stop's broken on that side there as well, and the disc is right on minimum, so it's due now. Front and rear disc are due now. And pads. Alright, here we are underneath the car. Sorry, I have to speak a bit, I have to shout because it's raining pretty bad outside. So I have to actually shout a bit harder to actually speak so you can hear me properly. Drive shafts are fine. Drive shaft boots looks okay. Gearbox overall there's no oil leaks from the gearbox. PDK gearbox, pretty fine on this one here. A little bit of oil marks or a slight thread of oil from the actual rear main seal. There you go, as you can see, the rear main seal. There's no coolant leak from the actual front here. Just a few little marks. A few little marks on here. There's not much you can see, but just little marks here. Alright, so control arms are pretty original from day one from factory. So just little marks here as well on this car here. There's no major coolant leak that I can see, but a little bit of mark there as well. It's holding pressure. We pressure test the system and it's holding pressure at like 18 psi. Front shock absorber, control arms, they are all original parts from factory, which is a good thing. There's no coolant leak, no power steering leak. All the tires are good. Front and rear tires are good. Needs a wheel alignment as well on this car here. The rear shock absorber is pretty alright. I've got a list of stuff to be done on the car. I'm just showing you, having a quick look at this car underneath. Much easier to show. Fuel tank is good. Fuel tank and actual steering rack is not leaking as well. Alright, thanks for watching and please subscribe.